Hello, everyone. My name is Andrew Martinez, and today I'll be presenting research on sustainable transportation logistics and how companies can actually reduce emissions in modern supply chains. This presentation highlights the key issues, research findings, and recommendations from my report. Here's the outline for today's presentation. We'll look at the issue, the background, key findings, challenges, benefits, recommendations, and lastly, the conclusion. There are three main learning goals for today. First being understanding why transportation emissions actually matter so much. Second, becoming familiar with the sustainable technology and logistic strategies that reduces emissions. And third, seeing real practical recommendations company can actually use to create a cleaner and more efficient supply chain. The purpose of my report is to really look at how companies can reduce transportation emissions by using sustainable logistic strategies. I explain what causes these emissions, review new technologies, and provide practical solutions or recommendations for businesses can actually use right now. Modern supply chains depend heavily on transportation, which produces a significant amount of greenhouse gases. As global trade continues to grow, these emissions increase and affect the environment and public health. Companies today are under pressure from governments and consumers and investors to adopt cleaner and more efficient logistic practices. To help me explain how global shipping was expanded, I've also actually included a short YouTube link that explains how the modern shipping grew over time, which helps me show why sustainable logistics is now so important. With the increase of transportation, this affects climate change, air quality, and people's health. These are growing impacts that show why companies need to really start shifting towards cleaner and more sustainable logistic practices. Sustainable transportation is important today because governments want lower emissions. Customers prefer eco-friendly companies, and a cleaner logistics actually help reduce cost. Overall, being more sustainable helps the businesses stay more competitive and operate more efficiently. Transportation depends on trucks, ships, air, and rails, and all of them produce emissions. Diesel trucks and long distance supply chains create most of the problems. Traffic, outdated planning, and freights also add rising emissions. These challenges show why reducing transportation emissions is actually very difficult. A lot of supply chains still rely on outdated plannings. Trucks often actually drive with an empty space. Routes aren't optimized, and idling actually wastes a lot of fuel. These inefficiencies actually increase emissions and cost companies more money. So, better planning can actually reduce both of these problems. There are many clean technologies available today. Electric trucks are used for shorter routes. Hybrids offer flexibility. Biofuels can be used for existing trucks, and hydrogen trucks are promising for the long distances. Each of these options actually help reduce transportation emissions. I included two videos. They explain how companies can actually switch and use cleaner vehicles to reduce these emissions. As you can see, this table compares emissions from different transportation modes. Trucks and airplanes obviously produce the most, while rail and ocean freight actually produce much less. Just like how I mentioned before, trucks and airplanes create the highest emissions, while rail and ocean freights are much cleaner. So shifting more shipments to actually rail and ocean is one of the easiest ways for companies to actually reduce their overall environmental impact. But the problem is that still might be a challenge. There are several challenges to adopting sustainable transportation. The first is obviously being cost. Cleaner technologies like electric or hydrogen trucks can be expensive. Another issue is the lack of charging stations for these heavy duty vehicles. And because technology is actually changing so quickly, some companies are actually unsure about which option to really invest in. These challenges actually make the transition a lot slower. Along with cost and technology challenges, companies also face practical issues. New trucks require new training and changes to the schedule. Electric trucks still have limits for long distance trips. Globally, shipping still actually depends on fossil fuels, and it's not easy to get every supplier and carrier to follow the same sustainability goal. These hurdles slow down the overall transition even more. Even though there are challenges, the benefits of sustainable transportation are huge. Companies save money by using less fuel and planning routes more efficiently. They also improve their reputation with customers and investors. Meeting government rules also help avoid penalties, and relying less on fossil fuel makes supply chains stronger during disruptions. Here are some practical steps companies can take. They can start switching to electric or hybrid trucks for shorter routes. They can also move more shipments to rail or ocean freights, which are obviously a cleaner option. AI tools can also improve routing and reduce fuel waste and redesigning supply chains with regional centers so that they can actually cut the travel distances. All of these options actually help lower emissions and improve on their operations. For companies to stay sustainable, they can actually partner together with their supplier and carriers. Training drivers to save fuel also makes a big difference. Carbon offsets can actually help, but the companies should also focus on reducing their own emissions first. They also can track their emissions regularly so they see their own progress and stay on track. So, in conclusion, sustainable transportation is good for the environment and good for business. It helps companies reduce emissions, save money, meet regulations, and build stronger supply chains. Using cleaner technologies and smarter logistics allows companies to operate more responsibly while staying competitive. Here is a list of the sources I use for my report. These actually include government reports, industry studies, environmental agencies, and other credible sources that essentially help me with the research and data that I was able to present today, even the recommendations. Again, thank you so much for taking the time to listen to my presentation. And that's it. That concludes my presentation. Thank you so much. Have a lovely day.